Hi, I'm Hannah with the Enchanting Kitchen, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be showing you guys how to make my Dutch oven breakfast bread recipe. It's really easy and delicious, and if you're new to bread making, you're going to love this. It's super approachable and great for beginners. Let me show you how to make it. We're going to start by adding 3 3/4 cups of bread flour to a large mixing bowl. This is not all-purpose flour, you're using bread flour here. And then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. It's going to make our bread smell absolutely delicious. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And I usually try to add the yeast and the salt away from each other. I've heard that you're supposed to keep the yeast and salt away from each other for as long as possible because the salt can deactivate the yeast. So I usually add the salt in a separate part of the bowl away from the yeast. I usually just put it at the top. It's easy to remember. And then I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of instant yeast to the other side of the bowl away from the salt. Now, I have had quite a journey using yeast. In the past, whenever I've tried to use instant yeast, it has not worked. A few years ago during COVID, I got really into trying to make homemade pizza dough at home. That was one of my projects during COVID, was trying to learn how to make pizza from scratch. And I had the biggest problem with not getting my dough to rise using instant yeast. I was using instant yeast in the packets, and I think this is the same brand that I used all those years ago, but this is the kind in the bottle, and it's the bread machine instant yeast with rapid rise. I don't know why, but this works so much better. I'm not a scientist. I don't know the science behind it, but I would highly recommend trying instant yeast in the bottle, not the kind that comes in the little packets. So that's what I would recommend because it has been working like a charm for me. It's great. So now we have our dry ingredients. We have our flour, salt, cinnamon, and instant yeast added. So now we're going to add our dried fruit and nuts. I have a medley of dried fruits here. I have about 1/3 cup of each. And I'm also going to add 1/3 cup of chopped walnuts. I get the pre-chopped kind because it just saves me some chopping, which is always awesome. And now I'm just going to give these a light whisk together. You can also just use like a spatula or a spoon or whatever you have. Now I'm going to mix together the water and the sugar. You're going to want to use 1 3/4 cups of water, and it needs to be somewhere between room temperature and warm. You don't want it to be too cool or too hot. It needs to be kind of room temperature and very comfortable to the touch. So I just use it from my sink. Now I have my water. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. When I touch it, it feels very comfortable to the touch. It's somewhere between room temperature and warm. It's perfect. So now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. So the sugar is completely dissolved. When I stir it, I can't feel any more of those crunchy crystals, and it's completely clear. So now I'm going to add it to my dry ingredients. And I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to start out with a well in the center of my dry ingredients. I just think it makes it easier for wet and dry ingredients to combine. I kind of do this with everything. I just think it combines a lot more thoroughly. I'm going to add that water in there. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You can use a standing mixer with a dough hook, which is what I use most of the time, but you don't need a standing mixer. You can also just use a large spatula or a wooden spoon. That also works perfectly fine. And that's what I'm going to show you today, because I know standing mixers are quite the investment. I just got mine maybe a year ago. I spent my entire life wanting a standing mixer and I had to wait a really long time to save up for it. And I'm gonna be honest, I love my standing mixer, but the hand electric mixer that I bought when I was in college works just as well. You don't necessarily need expensive equipment to make something delicious. So this recipe was actually inspired by a breakfast bread that my parents get at their grocery store. I eat it whenever I visit their house, and it's just a great little something to eat in the mornings when you're not super hungry yet, but you need a little something on your stomach. It has a lot of like dried fruits and nuts, just makes it heartier and yummier. It's delicious. I'm also really excited to make more yeast-based recipes. Now that I kind of know how to use it and how to get along with it, I'm so excited to make like just pizza dough, cinnamon rolls, donuts. Like, there's a whole world that has opened up for me. So I'm really excited. I'm gonna be seeing a lot more yeast-based recipes on my blog. So now you're going to want to cover your dough with plastic wrap and let it rise overnight, or as long as possible. I would let it rise for at least 6 hours at the most. And because of movie magic, I have some ready over here that has been rising overnight, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that rise. Look at how much it's risen. Look at that. So now that it's risen overnight, we're going to knead it a little bit. I did do several different tests, some with kneading and some without. You can absolutely do this without kneading it. You can just plop the dough onto a piece of parchment, kind of shape it into a little mound, and then bake it in your Dutch oven. That totally works, but I actually feel like I got better results when I kneaded the bread. So I know that's an extra step. If you want to skip it, you can, but I feel like you get a better result if you do knead it. And I also think it's kind of fun. It makes me feel like I'm on the Great British Bake Off and I'm kneading my dough for Paul Hollywood to try. Now that our dough has risen overnight, we're going to knead it a little bit with some bread flour. So I'm going to take some bread flour and cover my cutting board. This is just the largest cutting board that I have. And I'm going to cover it kind of liberally with bread flour because this dough is going to be a little bit sticky. So we want some insurance to make sure it doesn't stick to our cutting board. So now I'm going to scrape out the dough with my little scraper. I actually bought this a couple of weeks ago specifically to test this recipe out, but I was using my Lodge cast iron scraper before, and it's a little small, but it worked perfectly fine. You can also just use your spatula again to scrape it out. I'm going to use my scraper. I'm going to scrape our dough out of the bowl, trying to keep it together as much as possible. I know it's going to cling to the bowl quite a bit. So now I'm going to take some bread flour and sprinkle some on top, just anywhere that I think it's going to be sticky. And now we're going to get in here with our hands and start kneading it. And it's going to be pretty sticky at first, but because of that flour we put down, it's going to start coming together. And if you need more flour, you can add more. And I love anything like this where I can just get in with my hands and just have fun with it. This is so much fun. Look at me, I'm a bread maker. Put me on Great British Bake Off. I could be a contender. And now I'm moving my dough onto the parchment paper. It's looking beautiful. And now I'm going to cover it loosely with a clean towel. It's going to keep it nice and warm. And it's going to re-rise while we're heating up our Dutch oven in our preheated oven. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stick our Dutch oven in our oven, and then we're going to preheat it to 450 degrees. Once our oven is done preheating, we're going to leave that Dutch oven in there for 45 minutes. This is going to get it really nice and hot, and it's going to be perfect to make our bread. The Dutch oven is done preheating, and it is really, really hot. So make sure to wear your oven mitts. I'm going to place it in front of me, take off the lid, and I'm going to very carefully lift the dough and place it inside of the Dutch oven. Very carefully. Place it in there. Cover it with the lid. Now I'm going to place it back into the oven for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to remove the lid, and I'm going to let it brown for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to watch it very carefully to make sure it doesn't burn, and I'm going to let it get a little bit golden brown on the top. And this is my finished breakfast bread. It looks absolutely incredible. I think this is the best batch I have ever done. It looks absolutely delicious. It's super crusty and golden brown. There's gonna be lots of nuts and dried fruits on the inside, so let's cut into it and do a little taste test. Look at how that inside looks. Look at all of those dried fruits. It looks so good. It is steaming hot. It is fresh out of the oven. This looks absolutely incredible. Oh my God, this looks so good. There is no better smell in the entire world than freshly baked bread out of the oven. It's just, oh, and that cinnamon, oh my God. It smells incredible. Now let's give it a taste. This is absolutely delicious. The crust is super crunchy and crusty. The inside is soft and moist, and you get the sweetness from those dried fruits, the crunch from the walnuts. It is just absolutely delicious. And with a little bit of butter, oh my God, this is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys give this recipe a try. Let me know in the comments if you like it. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Thanks.